All right, so we fully mixed our track down. We EQ'd everything, we processed everything, we sort of leveled everything out, and we did that with this master on the track because I like to mix down with the master on, because a lot of times you could be making mixed decisions with the master off, and you're like, oh, this sounds great, and it's like, yeah, that's because it's really quiet and everything is super dynamic. But if you can get a great mix with the master on, and then if you take it off, if it still sounds good, then you're like, okay, I got a pretty accurate mix down, and then you can go back and go to master it. So this is a vintage finalizer master chain, and I'm pretty sure this is like an Ableton stock master chain, which is great. It definitely does the trick. I mean, this is pretty much what I use for my master chain. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and master this with fabfilter. So I'm gonna turn off this master chain. Still sounds great. So that now we know we're in the clear. So the first thing I'm gonna do for the master is I'm gonna put a Pro C on, and I just want to have a really fast, almost like peak catcher. So I'm gonna turn up the ratio. So I'm just very slightly catching these peaks. Not doing a whole lot, but I just like to have it there. So the next thing I'm going to have is a Pro Q. And actually, I'm going to have this Pro Q before the Pro C. So all I'm going to do for this Pro Q is do one of these low cuts like I've been doing the whole time. We'll do this at 30. And I like to do just an overall mids boost here. So it's like gradually getting quieter towards the ends. And that's because I think the mids are like the loudest part. So when you have a powerful mid section, it really just makes the track super like energetic. So let's see if that changed anything for the Pro C. Sort of just catching the peaks very slightly. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is fabfilter Saturn. And there is the best of, and it's magic mastering. It sort of just glues everything together and brightens it up. So we have this split into two different bands. We have this, this is basically a low end, and you can see that the crossover frequency, read it down here when I hover over, is at 110. So this is just processing the lows. This is processing the rest of the track. And we're using this clean tube. And we have different EQs going on here. There's a lot of stuff kind of happening here. But it sort of just makes the claps brighter. It makes everything like hit a little better. FabFilter has a lot of really crazy parameters being mapped down here, like usually. And a lot of it is just beyond my knowledge, to be honest. But I do know, basically my way around the presets and what they do. So what you can do is you can go ahead and I usually take the mix to around 50 because it just does like a really good job of like light processing. So that's fine right there. Next thing I'm going to do is put on a Pro MB, and we're going to look for a mastering setting. So I really like this one. It sort of tightens everything up and it sort of pronounces the high end a little bit. And it does a really good job of compressing the low end and sort of cleaning it up. So basically what's happening is we're really tightening up a lot of these bands, and this is kind of confusing to look at. This is how far down the range is. So basically we can compress up to 18 decibels. But it's only doing a little bit of compression, and you can see what it's doing by this yellow line. So you can see it's really doing a number to this low end. We have a slight boost here, but I think I want to boost it even more. Sort of just livens up the mix and sounds really good. So that's probably the last plugin I'm going to use before the limiter. So now we're going to go into the Pro L. And this Pro L has a lot of different sort of settings to it. And there's dither settings, there's advanced settings where there's look ahead. I'm going to turn the look ahead all the way up. There's attack and release, which I'm actually not too familiar with, but there's transients that so there's a bunch of different settings I'm really not too familiar with, but there's like transparent, punchy, dynamic, all around. So for mastering, for just regular limiting, I don't really go into this, but for mastering, sometimes I'll like go around and check these different things out. So clipping is like the attack all the way up. So we're going to keep it at this loudness, but really pay attention to the kick and the sub and the transients. So I like this one to be, I don't know. They're all so similar to me. I'm gonna go with this hip hop one. I really like that one. So what's good is you can also see like the peak and the RMS. So this light blue up here is the peaks, and this even lighter blue is the RMS. So you can see it right here, what this limiter is doing. So with a limiter, you pretty much want it to like control the peaks and sort of make the track overall like louder. So you can set it here too. There's different K12. So there's different types of metering. There's K12, K14, K20, which all stands for different things. I'm not exactly sure. But then you can just select the range of what you want it to see. And this white line right here sort of just maps out the overall volume. So when it comes to these settings are all very like, they're great and all that you can choose all those settings and whatnot. But I usually like to flip through these presets. But what's really important is understanding the metering. So this gain knob is obviously the gain knob, and you can push that as much as you want. But it's important to understand the metering and what it all means, so you know whether you're like in the right spot or not. Now let's turn that off and let's just put on a regular Pro L and just see what it's like. And actually the look ahead gives it like a little bit of a pump. I kind of don't like that. So I'm going to turn the look ahead off. I'm just going to go with this regular. So yeah, screw the presets. I'm going default preset. I'm pumping this volume up, turning the look ahead down, oversampling it ×4, and that's what I'm rocking with. So let's go ahead. I am going to group all these together and we're going to switch masters and just sort of see if we're close to the original. And actually, I like this one better, and I think it's because of this Pro MB that's really tightening up the low end and making it not clip as hard. Because we can hear here the low end, the kick, and the sub are just kind of making it clip a little bit. But here, so it's definitely sounding a little bit better. But anyway, that is how I would master with FabFilter plugins. So there's a lot of different great plugins in here, but the ones that I've used today the most, you definitely know the Pro Q. The Pro C is great too, especially for that kick that we did. Oh my God, that changed the game. Saturn is really great. And it's really great, especially when you just, I mean, here Magic Mastering is great, but especially for the sub. Like we just used just the regular like default preset and played around with the drive, and it really just changed the game. Pro MB is really useful as well. The multiband compressor, it's just really intuitive, really nice to look at, and pretty easy to use once you sort of look around and figure it out. But these presets are probably better than you could ever multiband compress. So these are the ones that I would stick to. Honestly, is playing around with the presets like I did here. I just took a preset and I just boosted the gain where I wanted. So that's where I would go if I were you. And Pro L is just like one of the best limiters. I mean, it kicks the crap out of the Ableton limiter. I mean, the Ableton limiter is terrible. I just don't ever use that. I always use this. And it's definitely comparable to the Ozone limiter as well. But this one's really great. I just like how it's like a standalone limiter. I don't need to open up Ozone as a whole. All right, so that is how you master a track with FabFilter plugins. But yeah, we got the Pro Q, the Pro C, the Saturn, the multiband, and the limiter. So it's all sounding really good, and I think I like it definitely more than the Ableton Master.